Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Next Gen Racing FASTR BMW M4 Sunday League. This is RB1, focusing on the Alien League and Division 1 drivers, and we're here at the Spanish circuit of Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix layout for what is expected to be a rather difficult round for our drivers in one of the most challenging circuits on the calendar. Indeed, perhaps not the circuit where we can expect too many overtakes all the way around the circuit, but when the overtakes do occur, they're sure to be fast, ferocious and violent, and we'll be looking forward to seeing what each of our drivers are able to achieve. I'm your host, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and it's good to be back after what was last week a fantastic round of racing, and indeed we've got plenty more lined up tonight. Well, the fact that we are due to get underway with qualifying in the next 24 minutes, and then we'll be moving on to our two races for tonight. Now, I should point out to you, those who are tuning in right now, that unfortunately the stream is going to be at a slightly lower level of quality today compared to what you're used to. You're typically used to 1080p 30 frames per second. Tonight you're going to be watching it in 720p 60 frames per second as the max for the setting. That's because, as well as commentating tonight, I'm also acting as the lobby host and the trackside steward, due to a little bit of a mix-up at the last moment and the recent GT Sport update, meaning that our typical host, Gino Demo, was not able to host on time. They're currently trying to get their game client updated, so as a result I've stepped in at short notice to do this, but in order to respect the fact that we may have some connectivity issues if I'm both broadcasting the event and hosting a lobby at the same time, I've down-tuned the stream very slightly in order to prevent any connectivity issues for our drivers, and hopefully that should be enough. So please accept the fact that the quality is not going to be as good in terms of the visuals, but I'm sure the racing is going to be as good, if not better, all the same. Indeed, our drivers are all taken to the circuit right now. Well, the ones who've arrived, the 6 who are here out of the 14 we're expected to take part tonight, and they're getting their final practice underway as of this current moment. And I will be on occasion ducking away with regards to the view, not looking at the track and moving over to looking at the PlayStation Network to make sure that I haven't missed anyone in terms of friends. Unfortunately, we have already just had an announcement that Discover, one of our Division 1 drivers, will not be able to participate tonight due to the fact they are having internet connectivity issues, and therefore we're not expecting them to be at trackside at all for either of the two races in round 8. So I'm very sorry to announce that. Discover has just pointed that out. They're very furious about the fact they're not able to race, as they are in a championship battle in the middle of Division 1 right now, and we're hoping to be able to attend. But we're just going to respond to them to let them know thank you for letting us know. So 2 seconds, folks. But without further ado then, let's start to move down to our drivers at trackside, and let's start to introduce them one by one. And we will of course take a quick flick away from trackside and actually to our friends list here to see if we have had any friends requests that we need to accept. Nope, not currently. So I'm very sorry about that, folks. I will be doing that a number of times. Please bear with me and just have a little bit of patience. I'm sure you can. But nonetheless then, let's start off by introducing the drivers who are currently present, and we begin with our championship leader in the Alien League. It's the only British driver of Sparks Theory, who has been on a dominant display throughout the entirety of the season, although he won't be dominated if he keeps making that track limit bridge coming out of turn number 3. The British driver leading the Alien League right now by the best part of almost what is 78 points. It's 78 precisely, in fact almost 80. And really, Sparks has been the one driver that everybody has been trying to emulate or pursue wherever possible, and Sparks has just run away with it time and time again. But he is known, unfortunately, to have a bit of a boogeyman circuit in the form of Catalunya. Whenever he's competed in top split FIA races or any split of FIA race, he's always managed to, in his own words, find a way to bin a result or just bin a race in general around Catalunya. So Sparks tonight is going out onto the circuit, which has been his nightmare circuit, the one that he does not enjoy compared to the others within GT Sport and indeed the world of sim racing. So perhaps we could expect some of those previous moments where he's binned it, to resurge today, and perhaps Sparks may find himself actually in a bit more of a fight than he perhaps anticipated. But of course we will wait and find out. But Sparks is the favourite, of course, tonight to continue that dominance from last time out, and we will wait and see. Last time out we were in Interlagos, of course, and there was that thrilling four-way fight down into turn 4 on a lap number 2 in that race number 2, where Sparks made a three-way overtake. He overtook 3 of the Alien League drivers for the lead in the space of a single corner, which was some fantastic stuff, albeit we called it right at the rear of the camera. We are also confirming that unfortunately D10 Piper will not be able to attend tonight, which is unfortunate. So we're missing 2 of our League 1 drivers, but we're very grateful for D10 to let us know. We do miss Diskyver and D10, of course, and we do hope they're able to attend the next one. D10 not being available tonight and Diskyver having technical issues, so both drivers are not able to get to the track tonight. That's unfortunate, and we're just going to let them know that we've acknowledged that. But coming back to the here and now then, at trackside right now, we're now going to hop down to our next driver, who we introduce as, well, it won't be TNR Philo, who is second in the Alien League right now, as he's not currently here. So we're going to come to our 3rd place man in the Alien League, and that is the British driver of Luke Mitchell, as he makes his way out of turn 9 and down towards turn 10. The original turn 10, I should point out, not the recently revamped one, as the year 2021. Feel free to give me your thoughts on what you think of the new turn 10. It's a much more gradual corner compared to the sharp hairpin we have here. And of course, I personally prefer the current hairpin that you can see on our screen right now, not the newer one. It's really the old school hairpin, or the current one that's in GT Sport, and I expect it will be changed for the purposes of Gran Turismo 7 when that does arrive some eternity later. But focusing on our driver at hand, Luke Mitchell, currently 3rd in the Alien League Championship, and really starting to get some momentum behind him is Luke Mitchell, in the fact that he is only effectively now 12 points down on 2nd place man TNR Philo, and Mitchell last time out having some reasonable results at Interlagos, but he'll feel that some of the points that could have been there available to him were not secured, and as a result he'll want to bounce back tonight at Catalonia, and we look forward to seeing what he's able to achieve. And we are hearing that Gino Demmer is going to just about make it on time, so that is good news, of course, as we move away from Luke Mitchell then and down to GTP's Rick WRX. The Dutchman here making his way up through turns 2 and 3 right now, and the last time out at Interlagos, Rick having a reasonable bout of success right in the midfield in terms of the Alien League drivers, plenty of fighting, and Rick really building up that momentum that we've perhaps not seen from him in a couple of races prior to that, or a couple of rounds prior to that, and starting to find his rhythm once again, and we look forward to seeing what he's able to achieve here at the Spanish circuit. Currently sat on 142 points, 4th place in our Alien League, as he goes very sideways there under braking into turn 5, just taking a little bit too much of the entry grass on the right hand side there. But Rick really right now in a position whereby he's not close enough to be challenged by Luke Doherty right now for 4th place in the Alien League, but at the same time he's got a sizable gap, the best window of what is 45 points to Luke Mitchell, and he'll try to close that gap down tonight, we expect. And then the last of our Alien League drivers in 5th place right now, Luke Doherty, 94, I believe is not currently at trackside, so we will not be able to talk about him, but he is 5th place in the Drivers' Championship for the Alien League on 104 points. So almost 40 points down on Rick, the gentleman we're looking at right here. And then we come all the way over to our Division 1 guys, and we start off with the British driver of Matthew Lambert, our championship leader in Division 1 right now, and really the man that everybody wants to beat, and the one who has really found his form going into the midpoint of the season, and indeed going into the second half. He has been on a tidal wave of success on 241 points right now. His closest challenger, Martin JL09, been almost 40 points down. In fact, he is 35 points down, Martin, and Martin really having to work hard to catch up to this man. Matthew has just seemingly found so much pace out there. He had a difficult start to the season 20 that is, which we're focusing on, but he has found his way back into this championship, and he has taken the reins and just run away with it since then, and we're looking forward to seeing what the Brit is able to achieve tonight, and see whether his pace once again will rival the likes of our Alien League drivers, and whether Martin has a response. Martin, of course, being his main championship rival, the British driver making his way out of the pits right now to get onto some practice laps, and Martin on those 206 points, having had a very difficult evening at Interlagos. It was a brilliant start at Interlagos last week, with the fact he picked up the win for the League 1 drivers in the first race of the evening, but in the second race it went from riches to rags, and Martin found himself finishing right towards the back of Division 1. So all that advantage he gained and all that momentum he was gaining on Matthew Lambert was to all go to cinder, and as a result he's got it all to do once again, with Lambert resultingly expanding his lead compared to where they were going into the Interlagos round. But now that round 8, of course, Martin and Lambert are refreshed and re-energized. We look forward to seeing what the two championship rivals are able to do here tonight. Third place right now in our Division 1 is owned by the Dutchman of Sir Bertus, running in the Golf livery there. And for those of you who are Formula 1 fans, you may have recently seen McLaren's announcement with regards to the livery they're going to be running at the Monaco Grand Prix next week. And it is indeed very similar to this livery right here. A wonderful, beautiful livery by Sir Bertus there. And we look forward to seeing that livery get into action later on in tonight's racing. Bertus himself on 168 points right now and leading the chase for P3 in the Drivers' Championship for League 1, leading by 18 points over Deskyver, who of course is not racing tonight. We're going to be missing him, and right at this point that Sir Bertus is able to extend that lead potentially and perhaps close the gap a little bit to Martin JL09, that gap being almost 40 points. It's 38 precisely, and Bertus really finding a good amount of momentum, and consistency has been his virtue here, and he's been deploying it very well, and we hope to see more of that from Sir Bertus tonight as he takes to the Spanish tarmac. He is, however, being chased. He's got 18 points behind him, Deskyver, and then it is a further 17 points down to P5 in the Alien League, and that is held by Dcast, who's not currently in the lobby, and I'm just checking my notes to see whether he's going to be able to make it. But we have had just confirmation that Gino is going to be joining, and we're going to have Gino join on us because we've got the lobby underway, rather than make him have to create a whole new lobby and then cause everybody to reset and whatnot. So that, as a result, we should be A-OK. And in the meantime, as we just double check around to see if we've had any other things come through from race control that at the moment. No, we haven't had anything else come through. We continue our introductions, of course, and we move from Sir Bertus. Well, Dcast not currently here, and in fact I'm just going to check to see if Dcast has sent me a friend request or anything along those lines. Nope, no friend requests at the moment. Sorry about that, folks. Of course, I will need to keep jumping out every so often to check that before we get underway with tonight. We then come on to our 6th place driver in Division 1, as literally as I talk about him, Dcast does arrive down at the paddock. We will come back to Dcast very shortly, folks. But then we have got Edge HJG, who is currently 6th in the Drivers' Championship for Division 1, and the British driver having a mixed amount of fortune, and indeed on 133 points right now, perhaps not representing his true potential, but we will be looking forward to seeing what he's able to do again tonight as he goes a bit deep there out of turn 5 and makes his way down towards turns 6 and 7 right now before the uphill rise to 8 and 9, and Edge will be looking to expand his lead in P6 over Gino Demmer, who's not racing, who is racing tonight, who's just joined us very shortly, and see if he can hold on to that. Edge lagging a little bit there as well, and I will also be asking the drivers to confirm whether they feel the lobby's got poor connectivity or whether it's just individual drivers. But Edge looking to get some more solid points on the board this evening. Then we've got Gino, who's currently making his way over, the British driver in P7 on 120 points. Then P8 is D10 Piper, who will not be racing tonight, of course. And then we have Naif, the last of our drivers right now in Division 1. Remembering that Naif, featuring the Red Bull sponsored livery there, the Red Bull sponsored BMW M4, Naif joined us midway through the season, so as a result has been in an uphill battle in order to get into that Division 1 championship fight. And indeed, Naif is now there. He's only 5 points down on D10 Piper, who wasn't able to race last time out and will not be racing again tonight, and as a result of that, Naif has a great opportunity here if he can get some solid points on the board, much like he did at Interlagos, to start getting into the midriff of the championship for Division 1. And we can see that Naif putting in some solid laps already and will be looking to try and set a banger of a qualifying lap. We know Naif's got the pace and we know he's got the consistency, so we'll look forward to seeing what the Brit is able to achieve. And now let's quickly come back to Dcast, of course, who we did speak about a little bit earlier. Here is Dcast, the Division 1 driver from the United Kingdom, who is currently in 5th place in the League 1 Championship on 133 points, and has a great opportunity tonight to close down the gap to Deskyver, who will not be attending, of course. So that is all of our drivers summarised as they currently stand. We do have a couple more drivers who we are expecting to attend. We are hoping that Gino Demmer is able to make it. We do still have 11 minutes to go. So this is an opportunity really for our drivers to get that final practice in. And as a result, ladies and gentlemen, I should point out now that when we do transition between, say, qualifying and then setting up the grid for race 1 and setting up the grid for race 2, there will be slightly longer delays than what you're used to here. And you're going to be seeing me doing a lot of inputs on the screen. And I may go quiet a little bit every so often. But again, just bear with us. It's due to circumstances tonight. Service will be as usual as of next week, hopefully, but I'm just standing in tonight, and so I'm just going to make sure everything's done to the best of my possible capability. But nonetheless, let's talk a little bit then about a lap around the circuit as we jump on board with Matthew Lambert as he takes us around the Spanish circuit, albeit I believe actually I'm having some keyboard issues here. The keyboard is not working, so this is off to a flying start, and indeed the keyboard is definitely not wanting to interact right now, so give us 2 seconds, we might be able to fix that. Well, it would definitely seem the case that for some reason we are not permitted to change views on drivers' cars right now with our keyboard, so that is not a good sign of things to come. Well, this is going to be a difficult one, but nonetheless, what we are going to do instead, as a result of that, is we're going to stick to the third-person cameras right now. And we are just getting it from race control here that Gino is still making his way over. And then we are very shortly going to take you through a lap around here, albeit we do not have the ability to unfortunately ride directly on board with the driver, but we will nonetheless take you around a lap. So we're just going to find somebody who is coming towards the end of their current lap. It will be Luke Mitchell, who's going to take us around a little bit as he comes out the final corner then to go on to another flying lap. You'll see he comes out turn 16 and runs it nice and wide out onto the curb, and now absolutely throttles it down towards turn number 1. A long run down the straight here, a brilliant overtaking opportunity of course at the start of the race, and at any point when you come out of turn 16 within the slipstream of another driver and then braking down into turn 1, he'll be braking at approximately the 100 metre board here, stamping it down the gears, coming down into third gear in the end, and now transitioning into the right hander of turn 2, and now up the hill into turn 3, and extended, also up into, turn 3, and as he makes his way up the extended corner here, he makes his way around another right hander here, coming down into turn number 4 at this point, and this really marks the end of sector 1, braking into turn 4, and coming down into the extended right hander here. One thing to note is that this is a corner which opens up the more you go through the corner, so as a result you're encouraged to get on the throttle early and use the full width of the circuit, which Mitchell does very nicely. Coming down to turn 5 now, the second slightest corner on the circuit effectively in terms of just individual corners, the first of 2 hairpins at the circuit, and now the long run down towards turns 7 and 8, the uphill left into right combination here, a very tricky combination, because if you take too much curve at turn 7, as we see Luke gets it very nicely done there, then as a result if you jump over that curb you get thrown out across track limits at turn 8. That's not an issue there for Mr. Mitchell as he makes his way through turn 9 and absolutely nails it there over the rise of turn 9, and now the long run down towards turn 10 and braking into a sector number 3 then he goes, and coming down hard on the brakes here for the sliced corner on the circuit, the hairpin corner at turn 10, all the way down to second gear before getting on the power and using the runoff strip there in order to extend the corner. Up through the rise of 11 and 12, now the right hander of 12 giving way to a 13 very shortly as he flows through, and Mitchell very laggy by comparison, although I am going to do that connectivity check with everybody shortly. Going through 13 and now coming down into 14 and 15 into the chicane, the slow chicane, and now making his way into the final corner of 16, and it's a long flying right hander here all the way through to complete the lap. And that is a lap demonstrated by Luke Mitchell there. Our prime overtaking spots being turns 1, 4, 5 and also turn 10. Not too many overtaking opportunities here, but plenty of opportunities for drivers to run it close to one another and set themselves up or force a driver into a mistake through essentially psyching them out, as we see Nathan making his way down towards turn 4 right now. And Gino Demmer has just arrived, and we will do the friends list check one more time. Nothing there. So that's all looking good then, and I'm just going to put the word out to everybody. Is everybody's connectivity okay? But the idea will be that within the next 7 minutes we will get underway with qualifying, which will be the 10-minute session, and then after qualifying we will take a log of the qualifying grid, and then we will send it away for race number 1 once we set up the grid order, as we're just getting confirmation from Sparks3 there that he's happy with the connectivity. I think Edge has had some little connection problem, not Edge, my apologies. I think Luke Mitchell has had some little bit of erroneous connectivity in the past where he's just had some lag, so that's pretty more down to himself, but we will try to do our best to accommodate him where possible, indeed all drivers, and that's why we're also going to have that very quick start after qualifying. It's a false race where everybody's able to get off, and I think Luke Mitchell is just saying that he needs to reset a little bit of connectivity or fix a technical issue, as we see Rick there confirming that things seem to be a-okay. We're staying with Nath right now, and we can see that Luke Mitchell is switching over to land, so that is going to improve his connectivity quite considerably. And Nath makes his way down towards turn 1 once again, and we can ride on board. We've fixed the camera issue, ladies and gentlemen. That's brilliant news. So we can take you around for a lap right now, and we're going to jump on board with Matthew Lambert and give you an on-board description of the lap. So, coming out the final chicane then and into turn 16, what you're going to see is going to hook over the curb. Mitchell just coming out the room, he'll rejoin shortly. And that's the long run down the straight here towards turn number 1, absolutely pounding his way all the way down towards turn 1. We're expecting that some drivers may opt to go up into 7th gear here or run it to the rev limiter in 6th gear. You can see Matthew Lambert going up into 7th, breaking down now at that 100 metre board all the way down to 3rd, and then perhaps down to 2nd. No, he decides to stay in 3rd. He's got it hooked there. Into left-hander turn 2, using the full width there before throwing the car over to the left, swinging it back to the right, and as a result, as he makes his way through turn 3, you'll see that he's hugging the entry curve there as much as humanly possible, and now charges his way out of turn 3 and up towards 4, using the full width of the circuit, braking on the runoff strip there, and now coming down into turn 4. He's going to try and hug the inside curve, but he can't quite hug it as much as he'd like to. Understeered a little bit wide there, but makes up for it by getting on the power nice and early and having confidence in the grip of the racing soft tyre, and now coming down into turn 5 here, nice and tight, taking a symmetrical apex there, and now coming out of the turn 5 hairpin corner, running down towards turn 6 and 7, through 6 he goes, into 7 here, and that's the left into right combination. You'll see he's going to tap the curb there, goes a little bit deep, but manages to hold it together once again, and not quite the line he would have wanted, a bit of understeer. Now coming up into 9, running through the sweeping right-hander here, hugging that curb, but you can see he raised the car a little bit too high on the curb there, and the curb responded by launching his car off to the side there, and almost beyond the track limits. But as he comes down towards turn 10, you can see he's on a flyer, is Matthew Lambert right now, with that 51.4 being his previous reference, but he's looking for a 50. We're expecting pole here to be in the 1 minute 50s, and now making his way up the hill through turn 12 he goes, again a little bit deep, but you'll see he downshifts to second there in order to tighten the nose of the car back towards the corner, and as a result of that he makes up for lost time, coming down into turn 13 now, absolutely sliding the car through 13, now sharply braking down into 14 and 15 into the chicane, jumping over the curb there of 15 as you're permitted to do, but if you put all 4 wheels to the right of it, that is the track limits infringement, and then out of the final corner, this is looking a very strong lap from Lambert. Is it going to be a 50? Not quite. Those little mistakes there, particularly with the understeer, costing him that 50.9, but we can expect we are going to see 50s by 1 or 2 of our drivers in that qualifying session, and with 3 minutes to go until qualifying, we're just going to let all of our drivers know that, and we are expecting some frantic qualifying action in short order. So we're just letting our drivers know there that once we do quali, we will immediately be put into effectively what is known as the endurance race phase. We will want our drivers to launch off the line in order to get a feel for their connectivity, and also to make sure that they're able to get off the line. We don't have any stucks on the grid, and then once they've got off that and they go to turn 3, they're to quit the race, and as a result of that we can then set the grid manually. But it will take us a little bit of time, and it's good to have Gino in the room as well. So we've got 2 minutes to qualify now and really start to place your bets in terms of who's going to be on pole. As we say hello to Martin at VXR in the chat. We hope you're doing well, Martin, and you're feeling good this evening and ready for some racing action. But really, right now, we are just counting down the time, and we've only got less than 2 minutes before we get underway with the qualifying session. And we will have today, I believe it's going to be 12 drivers, well, it may be 11 drivers at this point, because I'm not hearing of anything about Doherty right now. I Luke Doherty 94 where he's going to be able to join, and I will just double check for you to make sure we don't have any drivers who are just sat by the wayside. No, we've got 10 drivers currently, so we are missing, just to confirm who we're missing here. And my apologies, actually, we are expecting 14 drivers in total, but the Skyver and also D10 Piper are not able to attend tonight due to circumstances. We don't have Luke Doherty right now, and we also do not have TNR Philo at this current point in time. And I will just check to make sure I haven't had a friend's request. No, I have not had a friend's request. So it looks as though we will be proceeding with only, 10 drivers in the end tonight. Perhaps not everybody keen on Catalonia, or just not able to make it out, the ones we don't know about. Okay, so without further ado then, I've just asked TNR Philo and Doherty to confirm whether they will be racing tonight. Good luck for tonight, Martin. Martin, of course, in the Twitch chat being at Martin Jallo 9. But without further ado, we begin qualifying. And Lambert saying he needs to take a whiz. Well, we're going to give him the opportunity to return, and then we'll get underway. But whilst we are waiting for Lambert to make a quick return here, we are just going to make some notes to say that some drivers were not able to attend. Wash thoroughly, says Sparks. Well, indeed, you should wash thoroughly, particularly with all the hygiene and that concerns that we currently do have. Alrighty, so Lambert is back, and here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get qualifying underway. So we're just going to let all of our drivers know that quali begins now. As we say hello to Lerb in the chat as well. We hope you're doing well, and let's get qualifying underway. 10 minutes, who's going to be on pole by the end of it? Let's find out. So, of course, the first thing for all of our drivers is that long rush out of the pit. Everybody will want to try and get out there as quickly as possible and get running around on the circuit within short order as we clear some of the data out of the way on the screen. And we can see that it is going to be, I believe, a Luke Mitchell who is... No, it's not quite a Luke Mitchell who's our lead driver around on the circuit. Everybody just needs to be updated on the timing line. But the lead driver who's currently taking us around in terms of our order will be Nath. Nath being very quick out the pits there and wanting to get that time in as soon as possible. I think the British driver does feel that he has got a lot of pace to deploy tonight, and he will want to get that utilised as quickly as possible. Now, can we expect that drivers will try and use slipstream here in qualifying? Well, in the higher downforce category, so we're thinking more here of Group 2, GT2, and also Group 1, LMP1, and cars along those lines, you would find that typically slipstream here and dirty air can absolutely destroy a lap, and particularly race pace of a driver running in the dirty air. Whereas in GT3 and GT4 category, of course, we're looking at GT4 class BMW M4s. It's more of a case here of the fact that slipstream is going to be quite beneficial. And really, I would say that it's going to be in sectors 2 and 3 where that slipstream can come into effect, albeit also the long run down from the start-finish line down towards turn 1, it can also be helpful. But then you do have turn number 3, where in particular turn 3 can be a little bit hazardous when you've got that slipstream available to you. We can see all of our drivers minus Sparks Fury right now being out on circuit. I believe Sparks, they're just reserving a little bit of time and probably only going to go out for 1 or 2 laps towards the end of the session once he's got an indicator what other times are. We saw that back at Interlagos us, we saw that he was essentially making a reference of the times being set and then putting an absolute blinder at the end of qualifying. And will he do the same? Well, let's see what happens here. As we can see, everybody's starting to queue up through the chicane, and it's going to be Nath who takes us around for the first flying lap of the qualifying session. Let's see what happens here. So as he makes his way down towards turn number 1 for the first time of asking on a flying lap, you can see pushing it all the way down, all the way up through the gears here, and coming down in towards turn number 1. He'll be braking at that 100 board, and as he comes down on the brakes, he'll be braking it into the corner very nicely indeed. And as he comes through, goes a little bit understeer there, and that's going to cost him about 0.3 of a second through turn number 2. As he comes back through 3 right now, getting the car lined up for turn number 3 and comfortably rotating the car through the apex there, and now charging all the way down towards turn number 4. He goes running it to the left, but then coming off of the curve, they're not feeling comfortable at braking on the curb, which causes the left-hand wheels to lose a bit of grip, and actually as a result start to rotate the car inwards there and extend the braking distance. You can see Nath taking a very consolidated line down through turn number 4 and into turn 5 he goes, and again just playing it safe here as he makes his way through turn number 5, and we'll just get that information up on screen for you in terms of his telemetry. As he makes his way down towards turns 7 and 8, he's going to go into left to right sequence here and rides the curb a little bit too high there at turn 7. I think that's going to be a track limits penalty of half a second. He ran a little bit deep off of turn 7 there, and it is indeed a half-second penalty for Nath, which he's going to have to burn, and that is very unfortunate, of course, as he does get that burned, but that is a lap which has been severely compromised, and as a result of that, Nath will need to go again. And we can see that Luke Mitchell right now behind him is our second flyer who's going around our lap so far, and clean so far from Luke Mitchell by comparison with Nath as he makes his way out of the turn 10 hairpin there. And in fact, we're just going to get our data back on screen for you. There you go. As Luke Mitchell makes his way out of turn number 12 and into 13 he goes, and I think Nath will be thinking right now with that little mistake he made, you know what, the information's there, just don't make the same mistake twice and you'll be absolutely fine. And that is something which of course all our drivers will be thinking about as we see Luke Mitchell making his way out of the final corner. This will be our first proper flying lap, and it is going to be a 1 minute 51.5. Not a bad opening lap from Luke Mitchell, definitely a solid lap, a contender for the midfield of Alien League. As we see Sparks 3 has made his way out onto the circuit. Gino Dema coming across line with 55.6. Edge with a disastrous lap. Now I think Edge in fact deciding to give himself some space on the circuit, set himself up for the next flying lap. This will be his actual flying lap that he sets, as we see Sir Bertus setting a 54.2. Whoa, goodness me, that is a phenomenal lap from Sir Bertus. We're already down in those 54s, a 54.2 for the Dutchman there. In our midfield for Division 1, we're seeing a lot of 54s and 55s right now, and Luke Mitchell with that 51.5 really setting the pace for everybody. As we look further back, we can see that Decast there of a 59. A lot of drivers on their opening flying lap not having a good opportunity to seize the day and show their pace, where you see GTP's Rick WRX going with a 51.8 there on his first flying lap. So we've got 2 drivers already into those 51s, and we're expecting plenty more over the course of the qualifying session. I think everybody just trying to get themselves up to speed right now and get those tyres up to temperature. It normally takes about a lap to get the tyres warmed up, but they won't want to take too much scrub off the tyre because otherwise they'll get graining, and that will cost them a bit of pace. Probably a couple of tenths. We see Rick there going wide out of turn 3, and as a result he will have some dirt on the tyres, and he can also be prone to a track limits penalty depending on where he goes off and gains time running out of turn 3. But we can see right now Nath on another attempt at a flying lap. His previous one was a 54.6, but we do know that was probably indicative of a 53 given the fact that he had to burn that penalty, as we see that Rick has returned to the pits and Nath is making his way along. Luke Mitchell using the slipstream of Nath here as they run down through turn 13 and riding a huge chunk of the apex curve of 13, which is a little bit of a gamble there because of course that curb can spit you out, but Mitchell making a very nice job of it, as we see that Nath right now really pushing around the final corner, and this is going to be an improvement from Nath. It looks to be a 52. It is a 52.3. That's a good lap from the British drivers. We see Luke Mitchell improves to a 51.4, but meanwhile further around the circuit, Edge right now making his way out the final corner, and this is definitely going to be more of an indicative time. It is a 1:54.0. A good lap from Edge there, albeit he's 1.7 seconds down on Nath, and Sir Bertus immediately responding and improving to a 53.7 as we look further around. And what is Martin up to right now? Where he's on a fly, he's on a best of anybody after all 2 sectors combined. He's got 1 more sector to go here. I think this could be a potential 51.2, or could it be a 50? Here he comes across the line, and it is a 51.6. Not enough in the final sector, so we know that Martin is the strongest of anyone so far in the first 2 sectors, but his final sector let him down there, and he's got it all to do once again. But that is a provisional P2 right now now overall, but that is the lead. Well, I say that, and all of a sudden Matthew Lambert comes out of nowhere and once again does what he does best versus Martin, essentially sets the lap afterwards, and Lambert right now the fastest driver out of anyone, a 51.3 for the British driver. But what about Sparks? Of course, that will be the big question that's lingering over everybody as we look around and we see Sparks is currently the fastest of anyone in the first two sectors. What's it going to be for the British driver? What's it going to be for our championship leader in the Alien League? We'll wait and find out, as he's only got 4 more corners to go through 13 first, taking a deep line there and not attacking the curb as much as we saw from Luke Mitchell, and perhaps that's the way to go, depending on your comfort in the car. We can see Sparks making his way out of the chicane, out of the final corner he comes then, and it looks a very fast lap here. What's it going to be? Is it going to be our 50th lap? And it is not quite, it's a 51.0, so Sparks currently at pole of everybody provisionally, but we can see only 0.2 faster than the rest of the field. That's the gap, and indeed Sparks has got a lot to do right now to secure that pole position overall in the Alien League, as we see Matthew Lambert leading in the Division 1 drives. Martin currently the best part of 3 tenths down on Matthew Lambert as it currently stands, but it is very close, and we can see the lap times between our drives are oscillating in those 51s and 52s, and it is a long way down before we get to the 53s, with Edge right now setting a new lap just there of a 53.2 as Sir Bertus improves to 53.6. So we do seem to have a couple of different fields popping up effectively, no more so in Division 1 where we have that mix of laps with those 52s and 53s and some 54s. As we say hello to Zoranik in the Twitch chat, we hope you're doing well, my friend, and well, plenty more action to come with only 1 minute 30 in this qualifying session. So a lot of our drivers now going on to their final qualifying laps, as we see that Luke Mitchell trying to use the toe of Sir Bertus there, but picking up a half-second penalty, and Luke Mitchell will know that this is his final qualifying lap, and it has been scrapped as a result of that, as we see Sparks on an out lap right now, getting ready to do one final lap. He's got one more in the tank. Will it be enough for him to get into a 50.9? Can he improve, or will we see, say, Luke Mitchell creep ever closer to Sparks right now and put him under pressure? And what about Martin? Will Martin be able to find some time out there and take the fight to Matthew Lambert, who right now is 4 tenths up the road in terms of qualifying time? But we will wait to see. And Martin improving a little bit in the first sector by 300ths, but it's really sectors 2 and 3 where the lap time may be found, as we see Rick right now in P5 overall, but that is effectively P3 in the Alien League. And indeed, we've only got 3 Alien League drivers racing tonight, so that is the last of the Alien League drivers who will be out on circuit. But we are waiting to see if Rick's got anything in the tank, any sort of response lined up as he makes his way down to the chicane to begin his final lap very shortly. It's been an out lap right now. All of our drivers will be coming through with half a minute to go onto their final laps if they're not already on them. And we are going to see Rick coming around and complete his warm-up lap here and then get going. And he's got Sparks 3 just ahead of him. Sparks there, who's just picked up a penalty for track limits. But of course, given the fact that he's just come around that lap, he will be permitted to go in. In fact, he resets because he's not permitted to do one more lap, because that penalty will be carried on to the next lap. So that is the marker for everyone to beat, a 51.0 from Sparks for pole position, as we see Sir Bertus improves to a 53.5 on the timing on your bottom left-hand corner of your screen, although we're not seeing that on circuit. And everybody now to their final lap if they're not already on it, as we see that Luke Mitchell onto his final flyer as well. They're all making their way through, and we look further around. We see that Martin coming to the end of his current lap as somebody else has just come across the line there. I believe that's D-Cast coming across the line, but Martin going to come across here, and this is not going to be an improvement, nor is it. Well, Gino improves to 55.2 in the end, but it's not his day at the circuit. What about other drivers who are going around right now? We do have a driver coming out of turn 10 up into turn 11. Let's try and find out for you who that is. I believe that is going to be our P2 man of Matthew Lambert, effectively P1 overall in the Division 1 qualifying session right now. And can Lambert improve and even raise that bar even higher compared to Martin? He's only 2 tenths down provisional pole, but gets a little bit of a tank slapper there coming out of the chicane, and as a result he goes wide, and I think that's going to be a track limits penalty, or at least it is going to heavily compromise the lap, and it is a track limits penalty, which means Lambert cannot improve. So Lambert right now in that P2 position, and we see Luke Mitchell all over the back of Sir Bertus. This has not worked out for the Brit. He's riding the Dutchman hard from behind, and as a result of that, it is not going to be an improvement from Luke Mitchell as far as well, although I say that he is improving by 2 tenths, but it's in this final sector where having traffic in front of you is so jarring to your performance in a lap, as we see that Martin has completed his session. Of course, Rick coming through the chicane right now. Can Rick improve and potentially jump his way up the order a little bit, as we'll need to get ready to take a screenshot of the qualifying grid as he makes his way then out of the final corner and comes across that line, and Rick sets a 52 point. No, it's not enough. He's going to stay with that 51.8 in the end. And what about Luke Mitchell right now as he's been behind Sir Bertus? Well, Bertus has moved out of the way as they come through the final sequence here. Is going to be a case he does not improve. Neither of the drivers improve right now, and I believe with that is qualifying complete. So as a result, pole position in the Alien League will go to Sparks Theory with that 51.0, a brilliant lap there by Sparks, and pole position in Division 1 will go to Matthew Lambert with a 51.3. A fantastic pair of laps for our pole sitters there, and as we still got that countdown, we're going to make some quick notes to make sure we've got this qualifying grid sorted out. So please give me just a brief moment, and I'm also going to need to grab some screenshots in terms of this, but we will get things underway for the race in short order. I promise you that. As we are just waiting right now for that timer to come down, which gives us a nice window, of course, to get things sorted out. And Nath there qualifying in P3 effectively for what is the League One drivers. A fantastic job there by Nath. We said that he had a lot of pace and he had a lot of promise in the tank, and he has delivered on it. And indeed, he is really rising in the Division 1 stakes right now. Alrighty, so this is going to be a quick start check race to make sure everybody can get off the line, of course. It's not going to be an indication of race 1. So everybody is required to get to turn 3 and then they'll be quitting out the race. We'll set the grid order for race number 1. But this will give our drivers, of course, a quick feel for what it's like running down towards turn 1, although most of them will have experience of this multiple times over. But it gives them a chance to feel what it's like for the BMW M4s as they all charge off that grid start. We can see there that Rick just simply lunging forward. All of our drivers not quite taking this as seriously as perhaps they would like. They just want to get on with the racing and go for those full starts instead as they all make their way down. Oh, goodness me, they're having a good laugh. And as a result of that, all having a little bit of a jolly before the serious racing gets underway as Matthew Lambert tosses it into the wall. And as a result of that, everybody will be asked to quit out now. They're a bunch of jolly fellas, these guys, are they not? So we've asked them all to leave the race, and we are going to get that grid organised for you. So please give me a few moments, ladies and gentlemen, and then we'll be bringing you race number 1. You won't be able to see things on screen right now because I just need to get a feel for what that grid was in the end. Alright, so we have got our grid sorted in terms of knowing who's going to be where, so now we can go back to the lobby. And I believe the race will have been cancelled, and we will get everybody to ready up very shortly. I just need to make the quick tweak. And that's unfortunate, Matt. Okay, we will give you the opportunity to come back in. That being Matthew Lambert, who's had his lobby close. Oh, sorry, his game close. We're just asking everybody to please ready up so that way we can set the grid, and of course we will get Lambert in. There he is, he's just rejoined. Okay, let's get that grid set. So it's going to be Sparks at the very front. And then behind him, also alongside him will be Mr. Luke Mitchell. And then it's going to be GTP's Rick in P3. Then it is going to be out of our League 1 drivers, it'll be Matthew Lambert, who we are just waiting for him to ready up. There he is. Monsieur Lambert making his way up there. And it's going to be Martin who starts off our third row, and alongside Martin will be Mr. Naif or Mr. Marseille. And then starting off our next row will be Edge, and alongside him will be Sir Bertus, and then it's going to be Gino ahead of Decast. So we are good to go. Okay, so we're giving everyone the good luck shout. And we're just going to make sure that Sir Bertus isn't going to say he needs to be right back very quickly, and then we will get underway. So Sir Bertus, if you just want to get your final words out the way, and then we are going to be a go, go, go. In fact, we are going to kick things off now. So, race number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Who is going to be our winner come the end of it? Let's find out. So as we pan down to the grid, it's Sparks on the right-hand side, Luke Mitchell on the left-hand side, behind them Rick and Matthew Lambert. But watch out for Nath, who starts in P6. What can he do, knowing that he's got a lot of pace to unleash tonight? As lights out and away we go. A very quick launch there off the line, as we can see all our drivers getting off immediately and charging down towards turn number 1. As they're making their way down into the corner, we can note that Matthew Lambert already making his way past Luke Mitchell. And as they come down into turn 1 here, it's going to be Sparks who leads them in. Luke Mitchell going defensive on the inside, Rick behind. And we can see that Rick finding himself being pushed out a little bit there by Martin and having to back out of it with the dirty air and also the dirt on his tyres. And Rick falling all the way down the order by comparison with the rest of the drivers ahead of him, as Sir Bertus up into P4 from what was a very tight-knit sequence there. And we see that there's a bit of contact between what looks to be Edge in the background of your picture and also Martin. Martin falling further and further down the order in a very difficult fashion here, and started his night a very difficult way, as we see that Martin battling with Decast right now and not where he'd want to be. He wants to be much further up this pack as they all come down in towards turn number 5, and we can see that it's a little bit of pandemonium, albeit up front right now. Luke Mitchell chasing after Sparks, and we do note that the Dutchman of Sir Bertus right there back in P4 simply hold on to the position right now and blocking Nath as much as he can. Nath pushing his way up towards turn number 9 and doing his best to hold on what is effectively P3 in the Division 1 standings right now in this race. But as they come out through turn number 9, you can see that Sir Bertus going a little bit wide there, and he might be prone to a track limits penalty. Decast being dropped now by Martin, who has cleared Decast as they all come down in towards turn number 10. Nobody going for a sudden move there under braking. Everybody seems to be flying into order, although Edge giving Gino a little bit of a bump on the rear there, and I think he's trying to get the move on to Gino as they all make their way in towards turn number 12. Edge trying to go around the outside here. By taking that wide line, Martin's just simply tucked himself inside and giving Edge a little bit of a bump there, and Martin up into P8 and continue to make this recovery drive now as they all make their way through the chicane and onto the final corner. But after the final corner, after lap number 1, it is Sparks Fury leading ahead of Matthew Lambert, who has passed Luke Mitchell. We didn't quite catch that on camera. Then it's Luke Mitchell in P3, Sir Bertus in P4, who has got a huge train of cars here, and we're going to stay with this right now as Nath is looking for a move versus Sir Bertus in the long run down towards turn number 1. He's coming all the way down here, and you can see charging down into turn 1, Bertus on the inside, Nath on the outside. Rick also trying to get in there. Rick trying to find a way on the inside of Nath, and he's going to squeeze it a little bit, but as they switch back, Rick getting a tiny bit of a snap oversteer there on exit of turn number 1, and as a result it is still the 3 in the sequence. They entered the corner, but really solid stuff here from the 3 drivers here, and of course Sir Bertus in a very strong position. He will not want to give up this position versus Nath, as we see behind that Martin is picking up even more pressure right now from Edge, who's looking on the inside of him into turn 4, and Martin decides decides to go deep here to have the cutback line out of 4, or the option of going deep on the inside into turn 5, but Edge blocks it off and actually makes Martin try to go a little bit wide there, but Martin stays on his line and stays to the inside into turn 5. The bravery of Martin there to run 2 wheels onto the dirt, knowing that he would have that inside line, and Martin has made it up into P7. And in that battle for P4, we can see that Rick has found a way past Nave coming out to turn 5. We saw that at the far distance of the camera whilst we're looking at the battle between Martin and Gino and company, but we note that now Rick is up into P5 and is chasing after Nave, and it's all kicking off in the midfield right now. Our top 3 breaking away, but then we've got 2 more packs of drivers effectively, the battle for P4 and the battle for P7. And will Martin come under pressure from Gino? Gino's looking for the move up the inside into turn 10 here, and you can see Martin's using it as an opportunity to burn his penalty, but Edge decided to rally cross his way over the apex there of turn 10 whilst also burning a penalty and giving himself another half-second penalty. I think Edge trying to be a little bit too opportunistic there, but still a smart attempt, but it didn't quite work out as we see Martin losing that place to Gino, and Gino going for a very smart move into the hairpin as they all make their way through the chicane and out of the final corner once again. And we can see that Bertus having the better run out of the chicane versus the drivers behind him, but picking up a half-second penalty for track limits there. So perhaps that better run was due to the fact he simply cut the chicane, and now he's got that half-a-second penalty compounded. It's up to a second, and he's got to find a way to clear it, as we see that Rick and also Nave are looking for a way back past into turn 1, and immediately Sir Bertus coming off of the defensive line onto that racing line. He's got the space to play with it, and we see that Martin and Edge once again going to battle, as it looks as though something's happened to Gino. I'm not sure what's happened to Gino, who's fallen all the way down the order, but Martin in P7 once again. I think Gino, I'm hearing from trackside, made a mistake at the chicane which saw him spin off circuit, and as a result that's why he's dropped quite a way down the order. But Martin versus Edge right now as they come out of turn 3 and up towards 4, and Edge decides to tuck back in. He realises that this time there's no point in fighting right now. I think he feels that perhaps Martin is the faster driver, and instead he can use Martin to pull him away from decals, as we see meanwhile in the battle for P4 going into turn number 4 and then through 5 I should say, it's Sir Bertus under a huge amount of pressure, increasing pressure as Martin goes deep out of turn 5 as well. So we've got 2 side-by-side modes happening right now, and Edge side-by-side with Martin into turn 7. You don't normally see moves in here because how slow you have to go through turn 7 as a result, but they show great respect towards one another, and Martin holds it there for the inside of 9, and as a result Martin holds on as Edge just puts one wheel out on that dirt on the entry into turn 9, and they both go wide, but I think Edge is going to be subject to another penalty, as meanwhile in the battle for P4 we see that Rick trying to find a little creep in towards Sir Bertus, and Nave having dropped all the way down those places there, it should be pointed out. They've changed places, all 3 of them, and we can see that Martin is holding on to P7 for the time being, but Edge is really close behind and trying to find a way through. As we look back up front, and we can see that in our race leader group it's Sparks who is 2.4 seconds clear of Matthew Lambert right now. And Lambert starting to be reeled in by Mitchell as they go deeper and deeper into this race and go on to lap number 4. And behind them, of course, we've got that battle for P4, which is really shaping up to be nice as we jump on board here with Nave. You're riding with the British driver here, who, of course, is looking to get back past Rick and try to challenge Sir Bertus. He doesn't want Rick in his way, and he'll think that Rick, given the fact Rick's in the Alien League, is a nuisance right now, and he's going to look for a potential move down into turn 1 here. No, he decides instead to take the racing line, and Rick defends to the inside, but will he go all the way around the outside? He hasn't quite got the grip there, and Rick defends it very well, and that means that Nave has got to find another way through. He wasn't able to do it there, but you can see that Sir Bertus feeling a lot of pressure right now and struggling somewhat to keep the grip together as he makes his way out of turn 3 and up towards 4, and he's been really reeled in here by Rick, and Rick goes to the inside here. I think Bertus is finding that the wheels are starting to fall off the wagon a little bit, although Rick goes a bit deep there and Sir Bertus tries to come back, but of course Rick now will have the inside into turn 5, a very strong attacking position for Rick, and he's got it done, I think. As they come through turn 5, Rick has got it done, and Nath now is going to be chasing after Bertus. As we see Sir Bertus literally all over the back of Rick like a sore thumb, as we see that he goes into turn 7 and he's not quite able to get the nose on the inside there to go for a move. I think that was a little bit of an opportunistic one and trying to get Rick to make a mistake under braking, but he didn't, and now Sir Bertus has definitely been reeled in by Nathan. These two, remember, are battling for effectively what is P2 in the League 1 race right now, as Rick is in that Alien League and trying to push on all the same. And Martin in the rear of your picture is up into P7 and closing on this battle for P5 as it stands on circuit. And as they continue to make their way out of of turn 10. Bertus just getting a little bit of snap oversteer again, just finding the rear of that car. Doesn't want to set on Nath, looking to the inside, but he can't quite get the position on Bertus right now, but he's looking for that move, and I think he recognises that the run to turn 12, it's actually a prime position to see if Sir Bertus makes a mistake. As our race leaders come out of turn 16 and go on to the other lap, our battle for P4 continues, and they make their way out of the chicane, and you can see behind that Martin has been reeled in a little bit by Edge right now, and Edge all over the back of Martin and putting huge pressure on, albeit I think Martin feels stronger as he goes into the next sector. But in that battle for P5 it continues, and Nath drag racing with Sir Bertus. They come across the timeline to begin lap number 5, and they charge down towards turn number 1, and once again Nath on the inside, Sir Bertus on the outside. As they go into the corner, Nath's got the best overlap he's ever had in this battle for P5, and he gets it done. He places it very defensively into turn 2, blocks off Sir Bertus' attempt at a comeback on the inside, and Nath up into P5, but for how long, of course, as now Sir Bertus will be the one who finds himself in that striking position. Can he come back at the British driver, the Dutchman? Well, if he's going to do it, I think he needs to do it early. We see that Martin has been passed for P7 by Edge, but Martin's now coming back at Edge as they go down into turn number 4, and you can see that Martin really wants this place back, but Edge is really working it hard to hold on to P7 right now. I think Edge feels he's very competitive versus Martin and really trying to hold up the P2 guy in the in the League 1 Championship right now. He's doing a fantastic job, Edge, of really taking the fight to one of the more senior drivers within the group in terms of point standings, as we see them going to turn 7, and Martin chucks it on the inside there and holds it together. A very brave move by Martin and a fantastic move to get himself back into P7. So Martin are really coming on competitively strong here, albeit he's not battling for the lead of the positions, but he is battling for every position, and it shows as we see that Nath has pulled away a little bit from Sir Bertus. The gap between the two of them approximately 7 tenths right now, although Nath getting a little bit of oversteer there coming out of turn number 10, and that's going to cost him the momentum coming up into 12. But I don't think he's going to be vulnerable to Sir Bertus this time, as we see that Martin behind, meanwhile, is doing a very solid job of continuing to press on the fight. And meanwhile, we see that Sparks3 picking up a penalty and has dropped the gap between himself and Matthew Lambert to 1.7 seconds, and we know that Luke Mitchell is reeling in Matthew Lambert by a tenth a lap right now, and he could be in striking distance as they go on to their final lap, lap number 6. All drivers will be doing a 6th lap as we understand it, and it's going to be the case of who comes across that finish line in the lead by the end of it. Well, we're going to have to find out one way or the other as they all make their way down towards turn 1 once again, and we see in that battle for P4 nobody in a position to make a move right now, but Bertus starting to fall off a Nath, and in that battle for P7 Edge has really fallen away, where the fact I think he's made a mistake coming out of the chicane and has dropped all the way away from Martin. A gap of 2.9 seconds now is the distance between P8 and P7, and behind them we can see that D-Cast being under increasing pressure here from Gino as the camera pans around. Gino completely missing his braking point for turn 1 there, and that's going to be a sizable penalty that's going to compound his ability to chase after P9. We haven't seen too much D-Cast, but here you're seeing him in P9 and holding on to that position solidly right now as we look back to our battle for P4, and we can see that Nath looking for a cheeky move on the inside of Rick there. That was a little bit late on the brakes, and I think Rick will feel that it was inconvenienced by the British driver there, and look at Sir Bertus immediately smelling the blood in the water and going for the move on Nath into turn 7, and Sir Bertus recognises that Nath making that one little lunge there into turn 5 immediately gave him a huge amount of momentum, and Bertus back up into P5 right now, and I do think now that Nath is going to have to come back strong and pull a similar move into turn 10, but Bertus immediately defending to the inside versus Nath, and you can see that Bertus knows that Nath would love to put it up the inside, but Nath can't find the place on the inside here, and instead is forced to go wide, and he can't even cut it back because Bertus parks it on the apex. The Dutch driver then knowing where to place that car and hold the fast charging Nath off as much as possible as they make their way up through 12, and there's not really an overtaking opportunity anymore, but as we see coming out of the final corner right now to win the race number 1, he's led it from start to finish, is Sparks Theory for the United Kingdom, bringing it home 2 seconds clear of Matthew Lambert, doing a great job there to come home P2 ahead of Luke Mitchell. And in that battle for P4 it's going to be Rick, the Dutchman, holds on in the end to come across the line in P4 as Sir Bertus goes wide out of the final corner. That's going to be an additional penalty. He burns it and drops all the way to P7. Nath comes home in the MP5, Martin P6, Edge going to come across the line in P8, D-Cast will be coming home in P9, and then last but not least of our drivers at the end of race number 1 is Gino Demmer coming home in P10. Well, some cracking racing and well done to everyone involved, but to our race winner in particular, Sparks Theory from the United Kingdom. Well, that was fantastic racing in race number 1. And of course, we still do have one more race to go after this. So we will show you those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries, of course. Sparks 3 bringing home the win overall in the race ahead of Matthew Lambert and Luke Mitchell. The gap between Matthew Lambert and Sparks being 3.2 seconds in the end, what with Lambert burning a penalty as he came across the line. And our top 5 being rounded up by Rick from GTP in P4 and Nathan P5. An unexpected P5 right at the end there, given the fact that Sir Bertus had to burn that penalty as he was coming across the line. And the fastest lap on lap 3 being set by Sparks 3, a 150.8. Finally hitting that 150, which he was targeting in qualifying. Now, of course, that means in terms of the winners of the 2 leagues, Sparks 3 won the Alien League race there, and Matthew Lambert won the Division 1 race. But we are going to use that grid in order to set the grid now for race number 2. So you'll just have to give us a short order and we'll get that grid set. So give us 5 minutes or so. In fact, we are going to give our drivers 5 minutes, so we will just let them know. So we're going to get that grid set, and in the meantime, folks, be sure to discuss in the Twitch chat your thoughts on race number 1. A fantastic race. And I have to remember that I need to reverse grid the second race according to the divisions. And Nath there coming home in effective what was P2 for our Division 1 guys. Okay, so let's get that grid set now, as we just made all of our notes. So we will have our Division 1 drive starting at, our Alien League drive starting at the front, but in reverse order. So it's going to be Rick ahead of Luke Mitchell, and then it'll be Sparks 3 starting in what is P3. Matthew Lambert starting all the way at the back, of course. So that'll be Lambert starting down there. And then it will be Nath just ahead of him. Followed by Martin. And then it will be Sir Bertus. And then Edge. And then it'll be Dcast and Gino. Grid is set. So we have got 2 minutes till we get underway, so that gives everybody a quick comfort break, of course, to get themselves all set and arranged. So if we reverse the reverse grid by reversing it, is it reversed in the reversible way? That is the reverse to the reverse should you reverse it. and then you look in reverse, then it's... goodness me. You guys are terrible in the chat. In the chat, it's Ronick and Sparks. Oh, dearie me. And then Matthew Lambert there making that little cracker of a joke about needing to take a brief visit to the bathroom once again. Need a shower. But it's good to see everybody in great spirits, of course. That's what we love in this afternoon league, in this Sunday league. And indeed, check out our sponsor, BeFaster.com, and encouraging as many people as possible from all walks of life, of all ages, to get into motorsport careers, whether it be sim racing or real-world racing. It's the aim of the organisation who sponsors this championship to get everybody involved in motorsport. The more of us, the better. As Sir Bertus there, going for a brief toilet break. So I think Sir Bertus is going to be back very shortly. I think. Oh, goodness me. And it's time for race number 2. Assuming Sir Bertus is there. I'm going to assume he is there. And we will just... I don't think I'm allowed to repeat that on a microphone, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. But here we go then. Race number 2 is about to get underway. So a further 6 laps, or 10 minutes, and come the end of it, who is going to be our winner? Let's find out. So as we pan down to the grid once again, this time with the reverse grids, it's going to be Rick from GTP on pole alongside him Luke Mitchell. But watch out for Nathan Matthew Lambert starting right at the back. They'll be looking to scythe their way through the field, particularly the Division 1 guys. It's a lights out and away we go. A very quick drop of the lights out and Sparks getting the jump on both Rick and Luke Mitchell immediately. But look further back in that battle for P4. Gino Demmer already holding on to that P4, but it's really kicking off in the long run down towards turn 1 right now. You can see they're effectively 4 wide as they come down into turn 1. And it's Gino at the lead of that pack as they all come charging into the corner. And Gino holds on. Edge squeezes himself on the inside. I think Edge there getting a brilliant run as a result of that and making up multiple positions as he went. And now Gino's got a lot of pressure from Edge as we see Sir Bertus side by side with Martin here, and it's all kicking off once again as we see at the front of your picture Luke Mitchell going defensive versus Sparks, who's already got past Rick. In fact, Rick being passed by both of the other Alien League drivers as we note that Sir Bertus really pushing it on and actually gaining a huge number of positions there, all the inside in turn 4 and gaining all the positions up into P4 right now and leading the League 1 battle as they all make their way out of turn 5. And you can see it's a whole cluster of windows and Gino is knocked a tiny bit wide as we saw Matthew Lambert trying to come through the inside there, and now they make their way up into turn 7. That's very unfortunate for Gino, and Matthew getting very aggressive coming into turn 7 and not able to find the space he would have liked there to get the move done, and I think he's going to have to settle it for the meantime. But he's really trying to chase after Martin, is Matthew, as you can see that he really wants every position on his championship rival. But meanwhile, up front, we can see that Luke Mitchell and company have broken away as Gino has retired the car. That's very unfortunate for Gino. And Rick falling backwards into the yours to Gino, not able to get the car back out on circuit. And we do see that Rick pushing on right now and trying to get back at Sir Bertus. I think Rick might have had to burn a penalty there because he's dropped down the order. And meanwhile, looking behind him, you can see that Lambert, in fact, has got the move done on Martin. Let's find out when that happened very shortly. He's already got it done. And now making his way up as Sparks picks up a penalty. And they make their way through the chicane for the first last time of asking. So after lap 1, it is Luke Mitchell leading by 1 second ahead of Sparks Theory, followed by Sir Bertus, then it's GTP's Rick, followed by Matthew Lambert, then Martin Jallo 9, then Edge, then Nath and D-Cast of our running drivers, albeit we had that retirement of Gino coming out of turn 5 in the gravel on lap number 1. And we see as they all make their way down towards turn number 1, the battle for P3 continues, with Rick trying to go the long way round here and Sir Bertus defending to the inside, but Rick tries to go round, but he drifts wide there with the understeer. And Sir Bertus resumes the position, and we can see that Lambert now trying to go around the outside of Rick into turn 3, but he doesn't get the position, so instead he has to hold to the outside here with Rick closed off the inside door and making sure there's no cutback available. And the British driver really trying to put pressure on the Dutchman right now as they all come down into turn 4, and Rick goes to the inside versus Sir Bertus. But again, remember, being on the outside of 4 gives you the inside for 5 if you're still alongside, but Rick carries that momentum down, and all of them getting caught up behind Rick right now, who doesn't want to let any one of the Division 1 drivers come through. We can see that Lambert and Sir Bertus side by side, as is Martin and HJG, as HJG I should say, as they come down into turn number 7. There's a little bit of contact at the back of Rick there, and we can see that Lambert essentially getting pushed wide by Sir Bertus, trying to find a way around the outside, but Bertus says no, it's 3 wide up into turn 9, and Lambert's on the inside, Sir Bertus on the outside, and the 2 on the inside backed out of it. 9, that was going to be in absolute tears there, and Sir Bertus under huge pressure right now as he comes down into turn 10 for the second time of asking, and there's contact. I think Martin just, oh goodness me, what on earth has happened there? But we can see that Sir Bertus has been knocked flying off there, and Rick as well. We are going to have to take a look at that, ladies and gentlemen, as Matthew Lambert makes the pass. The 2 championship rivals battling through turn 12, and now coming up into turn 13. Matthew Lambert goes a little bit deep and just holds it together, but Martin immediately tries to get back online, but you can see that Martin being on the outside there was no way he could get through, and Lambert finally up into that P3, but he's got Martin hounding after him right now, and Martin is really trying to get a move on here, as we see that Nath at the back of this pack, well, he hasn't been in any of the fighting, he's just simply in P6 and just following the drivers around right now as they all come down to turn 1 once again. And let's wait and find out what's going to happen here, as we see that it's a case that Matthew Lambert under increasing pressure, as behind him you've got Edge coming through turn 1 right now, and then you've got Sir Bertus further back. And about our leaders, meanwhile, we can see that Luke Mitchell is being reeled in hand over fist by Sparks as he goes to weave into turn number 4 here, costing himself a little bit of time, but trying to deprive Sparks of some slipstream. And what about behind them? Of course, Edge in that battle with Nath. Nath looking to the inside into turn 4 and placing it on the inside there, and Nath putting the car there, so Edge has to go a little bit deeper than perhaps he would like. Only reacted at the last moment there, Nath having a habit of putting the car in the way, but he's not able to carry the momentum down into turn 5 as they come through the hairpin. And you can see meanwhile up front there is the case that Luke Mitchell is being closed up by Sparks here, and there may be a move on up into the hairpin as they come out of into turn 9 then, and they're going to flow over the hill here, over the rise. Will it be the case that Sparks will be close enough this time to perhaps sneak a move up the inside into turn 10? I don't think he's close enough, and I think Luke Mitchell's wary of it and is weaving essentially to break the toe, but also to set himself up and say to Sparks, you've got to be a lot closer if you want that position now, as we see a 1.5 second track limits penalty for Martin here, and he burns a good 4/10 of it by simply lifting off the throttle into turn 10. But he's going to need to burn that penalty and burn it soon, as we see Matthew Lambert has started to break away from the chasing pack for P3, and Martin now has got a mammoth task to do. He's 1.2 seconds down, plus the 1.5 second penalty which he started to burn. I think it's the case that Martin just needs to make sure he picks up that P4 and hope that Lambert makes a mistake, and Lambert literally does as we say that. Oh no, not the commentator's curse all over again, but Lambert getting it all sorts of wrong as Rick is into the pits. They're retiring the car due to the damage picked up coming out of the turn 10 hairpin. And what happened to Lambert here? Did he just simply ride the curb too high here as he makes his way down into the corner? We're going to see it into the chicane. He goes into turn 40. Does he bounce off the curb? And he does. It's just a little bit of a bounce off the curb, and it costs him all of the time he gained, and now he's got to go hunting once again. And speaking of hunting, with Martin now clear, we can see that Nath and Edge have come to blows, and Nath is ahead of Edge for the time being. That happened off camera. Will Edge come back at Nath into turn number 4 as they make their way into the braking zone for the corner then? Will it be a case of move is on? There's no move right now, and we see that Sparks is getting ever closer to Luke Mitchell, putting pressure on our leader. And in fact, our leader goes a little bit deep into 5, but it won't cost him too much time because he can slingshot out the corner. The deep line gives you the top speed into turn turn 7, but cost you track position temporarily. And meanwhile, Nath under increasing pressure for P4 with Edge all over the back of him. We've only got 8 drivers now remaining in this race with 2 retirements. It's really been a heavy race in terms of car retirements right now, as we see that Edge putting that increasing pressure on Nath. But of course, it's a case that these two are very equal in pace, and it's really knowing when to pass Nath. Edge is going to have to plan that out to try and make a breakaway, as we see he gets the better run out of turn 9 here, and now he's got to look for that move down into turn 10. Will he be able to do it? Of course, he looks to the inside, but Nath goes deeper on the brakes by comparison. Nath having that greater confidence on the carbon ceramic brakes of his BMW, but you can see that he's not able to get the momentum out of the corner, and that's what gives Edge the chance to come back into the fight. With only 2.5 minutes remaining in this 10-minute race, I get the feeling that at this point we're going to see a move on the final lap, as in the rear of your camera shot, who we're now focusing on, Sir Bertus under pressure from Matthew Lambert. Of course, Lambert making that fatal error at turn 14 as we make our way through that corner once again, and Sir Bertus going a little bit deep, but it's all going to kick on the final lap. And speaking of kicking off, our battle for the race lead continues, and Sparks, the closest he's ever been to Luke Mitchell, he's been sizing this up for the last couple of laps. He's on the inside, Mitchell's made him go as tight as he possibly can, and Sparks backs out of it, seeing that the apex is so tight, but Mitchell goes deep as a result, and it means they're side by side through 2, and Mitchell rode the curb there massively through turn 2. Will that be a track limits penalty, as we see right now in that battle for P4? And Nath still ahead, Edge behind him, and then we've got Sir Bertus holding on, but meanwhile up front, in that battle for the race lead, Sparks versus Mitchell. Sparks is going to look to the outside into 4 and try and cut it back, which will be to the inside of 4, but to the outside of 5. Luke Mitchell being savvy of that, and he's got the track position versus Sparks to the inside into 5. So Sparks has got to try and find the long way round, but Mitchell goes a little bit deep, but not enough to compromise his line. And Sparks now has that momentum, but will it be enough coming down to 7? He's alongside Mitchell by looks of things, but he backs out. He's not quite close enough to get it done. And we see that Nath under that increasing pressure, as Lambert, we are hearing in that side-by-side battle with Sir Bertus right now. Neither driver wants to concede the position for P6, given it's the final lap. It's completely understandable. And Sir Bertus goes very deep into 8, and will it be the case that Lambert finds his way back past? No, he doesn't. As meanwhile, Luke Mitchell versus Sparks once again down into turn 10, and Luke Mitchell's only really got one more corner to go, but he makes a fatal error, and Sparks tries to get alongside, but he can't quite do it. He's got one more sector to go, but there's nowhere really to overtake in the final sector. Can Mitchell hold on? Can he break the trend of Sparks running away with all the victories? Will it be the case? There's only 3 more corners to go. We're Mitchell versus Sparks. Who will emerge the winner come the final corner? He comes through the chicane. He's got one more corner to go. Can he snatch a win? He does. He comes out the final corner. Luke Mitchell wins the second race at Catalonia by half a second over Sparks Theory. Or does he? Because we've got another lap. My sincere apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We got that a bit wrong there, but he carries on all the same. He's got one more lap to go, and as they make their way down to the line one more time, it'll be the case that Martin, Nath and Edge continue to push along here, and you can see that Martin is being chased by Edge, and it is a real difficult situation right now, with Edge falling off the back of Nath a little bit, and Matthew Lambert trying to loom large and get closer and closer in the rearview mirror as they all make their way through turn number 3 one last time. And Mitchell again under intense pressure from Sparks. This is the closest battle on the circuit. They are now on the final lap. My apologies, folks, for that little miscommunication earlier. And as we see that Mitchell versus Sparks here, they come down into turn 5. Mitchell not going defensive this time. He reckons that Sparks is not close enough, but of course Sparks gets the better run out of the hairpin here, and I think Sparks has been trying to line this up, but he's not going to have the momentum to swing it up the inside into 7. And as they come down the hill here into 7 and up the hill now into 8, Mitchell's still holding on, and he's going to have to make Sparks go the long way round here. He goes into 9. It's not an overtaking opportunity, and now all he's got to do is now 9 and then focus on defending into 10. Don't give Sparks the room to do it, and Mitchell's under increasing pressure. Sparks comes out under braking here, but Mitchell goes later on the brakes. He goes a little deep, but Sparks also goes deep, but he's just got it done. That's so unfortunate there, because now Sparks will have the momentum up through 11 and 12, and it means that Sparks is taking the lead. But will Mitchell try and find a way back? I don't think it's going to be possible unless he sneaks something in through 13, or Sparks makes a mistake at the final hour. But as they come out of the chicane, then they're going to do so shortly. Sparks ahead of Mitchell. Mitchell's all over his rear end, but as they come out the final corner, it will be Sparks who takes the win. He continues the sequence of back-to-back wins. Sparks wins by only a tenth of a second ahead of Luke Mitchell, and Martin in the end will hold on to P3, burning that penalty, I assume. He does burn it in time, and it's going to be Nath in P4, Edge in P5, Lambert in P6, Sir Bertus in P7, and then it'll be Decast fast coming out of the final corner. The last of our runners right now. He'll be coming to complete our field of remaining runners in P8, and we had that retirement of Ricky, who finished P9, and Gino in P10. Congratulations to all of our drivers, but to our race winner, once again, Sparks Fury from the United Kingdom, as we are just waiting right now, I think, for the countdown on Rick's car to complete. That won't be too long. Oh, what a cracking race in the end. Oh, goodness me. But what a fantastic set of racing. 2 races back-to-back tonight. It wasn't the cleanest in certain regards, but Catalonia does lead to some very difficult racing, as we've seen in multiple leagues in the past, and it's the same here with regards to the hairpin corner. But I think all of our drivers have been made to work it tonight, and Martin will be pleased with that P3. And what is effectively the win in Division 1 versus Matthew Lambert, who finished in P6, and as a result finishes P4 overall in the Division 1 racing, race number 2. Some good points to the board there, Martin, not letting Matthew Lambert have it all his own way. But just a little error in the end from Luke Mitchell, costing him the win on the final overtaking corner effectively, as they both make their way around side by side right now. And he'll be definitely wondering what could have been. That's very unfortunate for Luke Mitchell, as they both make their way up through turn 9 right now and ruin it. He really will be ruining it. That is going to be the conclusion of race 2, and I think we are just waiting for Rick right now. Well, I think we're waiting for the timer to conclude. Heartbreak for Luke there, most definitely. So we hear there from Mundo Virtual Racing, just not having the pace tonight. Very difficult. Even more so given the fact we completely miscast which lap the race was going to end on. But congratulations to the winners all the same. But a difficult night in the office for a good number of drivers, as we are just waiting for that countdown timer now to fade through. And I believe if we double check, it should come through at any moment. In fact, we will need to ask Rick to come out the pits and complete his race. Oh, there we go. There is your finishing order, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to all our drivers, but to our winner. But brilliant racing tonight, up and down the field. But there are your results, once again subject to any stewards' inquiries. Sparks Fury winning the race by only literally a tenth of a second ahead of Luke Mitchell, and Martin Jallo9 picking up that podium 7 seconds down the road. Nath and Edge rounding off our top 5 in a very close-knit battle for P4. And unfortunately, we had those 2 retirements of Gino Demmer on lap number 1 coming out of turn 5, being buried in the gravel there, and GTP's Rick WRX heading into the pits after lap number 2. The fastest lap of 51.5, that time being set on lap number 3. But that is all in terms of the racing tonight, and I believe that we will be having everybody jump out the lobby, so there won't be time for any post-race interviews. But all the same, thank you very much for tuning in. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, and be sure to come back this time next week for what will be round number 9, the penultimate round. Only 2 more rounds to go after this one, and indeed, it's going to be where all those points are critical and those final standings will be decided over the last 2 rounds. You won't want to miss it, but until next time, stay safe, stay smiling, stay well, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.